Thank you so much, and thank you, Nariarla, for the warm welcome today, and I'm having very much fun being in Argentina. Today my title is called Prepare to be Assimilated, which we know the reference? Yes, great.
Yes, of course.
Yes, we're here to assimilate you. But the good news is you have a choice. You don't have to. We're not the real Borg. But we would like to invite you to get to know our project, the Rocky Linux project, and perhaps to become involved. So let's start by talking about what is Rocky Linux. Rocky is a community-driven enterprise Linux, which means it is based on RPMs. Stable enough for the largest enterprise, for very, very big applications, but driven by the community so that we can make sure that it stays accessible for the long term. I want to show you how our project is built from the inside. Underneath we have a Rocky Linux board that has been voted in by the members of the Rocky Linux project. It has two main parts. There are technical steering teams and there are outreach teams. So within the technical steering, we have an infrastructure and release engineering group. We have a security group, and we have a testing group. And all of those are the groups that make up Rocky Linux itself. They're the ones who pulled it all together in the beginning. Most of the people running the project are still the people who first put it together in 2020. The other part of the project is also important, because you have the people doing the technical work and you have the people helping support the people doing the technical work. So that includes the community and operations group, the documentation team. We all know documentation is very important. And the design and web team, which is all of the outward-facing parts of the project. Just to give you an overview of the actual people involved in our project, we have, these are the four teams. On the technical side, we have Louis and Mustafa running the release engineering, Neil and Taylor running the infrastructure, Rob and Scott running security, and Chris running testing. All of these important, obviously. These are the things that they do. The release engineering is dedicated to the development, building, and management of Rocky Linux. Infrastructure is responsible for the configuration of it. They decided how it should be built. Security is obviously important, always. And testing is how we know how it works on all of the different images, the different architectures. I'm just going to let you read that because you're more technical than I am. But the decisions had to be made in the beginning when they put Rocky together. So with the infrastructure, they made decisions here. It's done in AWS, Linux One, OSU, OSL, Equinix Metal, and some others. The decisions were made because they wanted to make sure that we had options for the long term. And that was why it was so important to make decisions carefully. They do have a priority on having big security, but also being transparent. That's always a nuance that we have to walk, because we want this to be fully open source, but also we have to be very careful where the keys to the kingdom go. So trust is a big factor, probably in any open source project, but when you're a brand new project and you're suddenly very highly adopted all over the world, you definitely need to make sure that you build trust with the people in the project. These are some of the supporting services that we have and some of the other tools that we use to run the infrastructure. With building and releasing Rocky, these are the two different build systems. They started out with Koji, and then during the process of creating Rocky, they developed a new project called Peridot. Peridot is an automated build tool, which is the thing that helps Rocky exist. They're always looking ahead. We're always trying to look down the road as far as we can and always predict the future as much as one can. So they're continuously doing rebuilds of CentOS Stream. We're already in the phase of looking toward Rocky 10, which will come out in 2025, I believe. We're trying to always prepare for the future. And one of the most exciting new developments that we have right now is that we are currently testing to be able to release an image special to the RISC-V architecture, which is a new architecture, I believe, in the edge computing region. And then we're continuously testing to make sure we have the best thing possible. Our testing team is probably our most active team because we want everything to be tested on different architectures. Well, guess what? 15 people or 20 people or however many people are involved in this team right now do not have all the architectures. So this is a place that we encourage contributions into the project. If you have an architecture that you would like to see Rocky supported on and you do not yet see it there, this is where you go to be involved. You find the testing team and get involved in that team and become part of the solution. You get to help test Rocky on that architecture. And from that point, then it becomes a supported architecture. Obviously, we want to support everything. But we can only do that as long as we have people who want to do the testing on it. And occasionally for people who want to test something but don't actually have the architecture, there is a little bit of funding available for that. And that's the technical steering side. Pardon me. All right, the community operations team. You all are very lucky. You're here for the very first time ever in the room with both of the community leads from the Rocky Linux project. I'm Krista, and Alexia is here at the conference. She's from Argentina, so we have great interest in expanding the Rocky Linux reach within the South America and all of the Spanish-speaking part of the world. And I think that I'm looking forward to the future to see how this progresses forward from here. But what we do as the community leads is we moderate discussions. We help create opportunities for people within the project to meet each other, to have a safe place. We try to make it easy for people to become involved in the project. We're always trying to make it easier, making our onboarding more explicit, making our documentation easy to access, and all of our public knowledge easy to access. That's something that's important to us, and it's a constant work in progress to make it as best as it can be. Because we want it to be a professional place, but also a place where people can be safe, and also a place where people can learn and improve their skills. We feel both very strongly about this, and it's really fun to be working with Alexia on making that mission a reality. We also have a documentation team, Wale and Stephen, doing the Lord's work of making Rocky have excellent documentation. We have Michael in charge of our design. He designed our fabulous stickers, which you'll see in the lower left-hand corner here of the presentation. We have stickers of that. Come by our booth tomorrow morning, and I'll have a sticker for you. Come early. And then we have Gabriel is in charge of the web team. All of this is very important work for a project. It's not just technical. It is also all of this support staff, if you will, volunteer staff. So that's a basic overview of the community and all of the operations parts of the project. We talk about teams. Those are the teams that I just introduced you to. The focus of the teams is to support the core goal of Rocky, which is to exist, to be an operating system, a downstream distribution within the enterprise Linux line, fully compatible as much as physically possible with Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But there are some other applications of Rocky that there are interest groups that want to make happen. We call those SIGs, special interest groups. We have several, but a key component of these are a key component of the Rocky community. They will develop some packages that are useful to the entire Rocky community. And there are other things that the SIGs are involved with. Here's an example of some of our SIGs. We have an AI SIG. I don't know that it's very active right now. If somebody had some great ideas for how to turn Rocky Linux into an AI-ready Distribution, this would be the place to have that conversation. Alt-Arch, Cloud Database, Fast Track, all of these are, I guess these are, I think this is current. Some of these are more active than others. The HPC is very active. The security one exists to create extra hardening for some of the, and security patches for the distribution itself. And then for future development, here are some that we have suggested, and we've had some interest, but we don't yet have anybody to own it and run with it. If you have your own special use case of Rocky Linux, this is a place you could actually, if you have enough of a group, at least 2 people willing to lead it, you can come and have a SIG within our project. The desktop SIG right now is having the most growth. We've worked really hard this year to make that more and more accessible, especially in terms of gaming, which is a really popular one. To that end, this summer, the documentation team did a special project, a season of docs, if you will, where they added, I think, 18 documents to the desktop documentation part of the documentation within Rocky. All right, so Rocky itself is an open source project, but where does it get hosted? Rocky is supported by the Rocky Enterprise Software Foundation, and Rocky is the flagship project of the Rocky Enterprise Software Foundation, as well as Peridot, which is the build tool that I told you about that came along with Rocky as it was being built. So the vision of the foundation, the RESF, is this: to create and nurture a community of individuals and organizations, so both individuals and organizations, that are committed to ensuring the longevity, stewardship, and innovation of enterprise-class open source software. Our dream is to just make Rocky, but to have it exist for as long as possible. And I think there's a little bit of innovation in the idea still of a community-built project that is stable enough for a company to use. So we spend a lot of time in that space trying to articulate the nuances of how those two ideas come together. Okay, so for the purpose of protecting the Rocky Linux, we've designed our board in a certain way. We set forth a path where people can become members of the foundation, and we solicit support from sponsorship, from sponsors, but really the sponsors are buying into our vision. We don't sell board seats, we don't sell votes on the direction of the project. That has to be done through the community, and membership in the community is voted on by the community, and then the community also sends people to the board. Just to give you a quick glance, here's our board of directors. We have several people involved in the project, those top 8, and then the bottom ones, the bottom 4 are people who are considered independent members of the board, and that's to just help us have a little bit of oversight and outside perspectives, which I think perspective always lends strength to a project. This is the way we're organized. So the RESF there is in the middle. It has the Rocky Linux and the Peridot within it, and then above it, that's where the sponsorship comes in, and that's where the money comes from that supports ultimately Rocky. This is just an example of our sponsors. These are the groups that have given money to the project, most of them on a recurring basis. There are different tiers because it's different amounts. And we don't currently have anybody in tier 2 and 3. You're welcome to be the first. And then we have partners. Partners are ones who have donated services or support us in some other way, and we are so grateful for this kind of support. I know Fastly is responsible for our mirrors, or for preloading Rocky images in places all over the globe for faster downloads. We're so grateful to them and to Mattermost in particular because Mattermost is the host for our chat server, which is the heart of our community. Several other really admirable partners in that list. I don't need to show you how to be a member today, but to become a member, there is a process for becoming a member. And like I said, members are the ones who can participate in the meetings and have a voice in the foundation board. That is not in exchange for money, that's in exchange for the trust that we talked about at the beginning. But there are ways that you can be a part of the Rocky success story. Lots of ways. You can join our community via a connect. It's been a long day. A QR code that I'll show in another slide in a moment. You can follow us on our socials. We're on several of the major ones: LinkedIn, Twitter, Mastodon, and Facebook. That's it. You can be a part of the community by submitting bugs and issues that you find when you try to install or use Rocky Linux, or errors that you may find in the documentation. All of those are ways to be a part of our success. You can participate in the forums. We have a whole forum that's just for people asking questions. It's a great place to ask questions because it's threaded and you can go back and look at previous questions. You can also answer questions in there because Rocky Linux is Linux, and Linux is pretty universal in many ways. And there are many people who are new to Linux. If you feel like you know Linux, there are plenty of questions in there that just somebody who knows Linux can help answer and help people find their way through. You can wear swag. You can take extra stickers. I have stickers at the booth. We'll have them tomorrow morning up in the, I forget what they called that room, but it's like a little meeting room upstairs. Help your company use Rocky Linux. Or if your company already uses Rocky Linux, let us know. It's open source, so we don't really keep a record of who downloads it unless you come to us and tell us. And then we can maybe do some kind of collaboration where we can post your logos on our website, or maybe we can post our logos on your website. All of that helps. All of it helps. So those are all ways that you can be a part of the Rocky success story. Here is your QR code. If you would like to be a part of the Rocky community, again, you are not required to assimilate, but we welcome you. There are places for everyone. I love that I came into the Rocky community without really any technical background. I wanted to learn documentation. I wanted to become better at documentation and use the skills I had with words and writing to bring my level of excellence to the documentation. And in return, I learned a lot about how to use technical tools and how to speak in technical ways, and it improved me. We can help other people do that too. Students are welcome to come and get involved in little projects around our project. So when you come in, these are just some things you can do. Find the introduction channel and introduce yourself. Put emojis on other people's posts. You know, it's all the things they tell you, and I've been to other internet forums that have you do this. Just go get involved a little bit and make a few posts. And then ask questions. Follow along. Find the group you're interested in. If you're interested in testing or security or whatever thing, go type the name into a channel and find the channel that talks about that and just become part of the conversation. That is how we love to have people join the community. No previous experience required. So that is your official induction into the background behind the scenes of what Rocky Linux is. The fun, as she says, can now commence. And I will attempt to answer questions if there are questions.
Big applause first.
Oh.
Hola, hola, hola. Thank you. Here we have some questions there. The mic.
Or maybe you could just repeat the question.
Yeah.
Who had the question? Thanks a lot, Krista. This is great. Can you give us a little bit of, tell us a little bit about the name? Because something that's rocky is usually something that's got up, a little bumpy and it's not stable. So why did you choose Rocky Linux for the name?
Yes, and I personally, when I saw it, my first thought was the Rocky Mountains because I saw the mountain logo, but that's probably a United States reference, so I could see that wouldn't always be universal. But it actually was neither of those things. The name for Rocky Linux was actually chosen to honor a person. Greg Kurtzer is the person who's first got this whole project going, and he worked with somebody in the early days of CentOS named Rocky McGaw. And I think Rocky had a lot to do with the beginnings of that project, but he did not live to see this happen. He did not live to see all of it. So this was just sort of a hat tip to him and to his memory that look what he started. Okay, there's another one over here in the back.
Yeah.
Did you mention a special interest group called HPC? What means that?
HPC is the acronym for High Performance Computing. So that's often used in research and academic institutions. Yes. It's actually our biggest use case.
Okay.
How are your relationships with official Red Hat? A very hard question.
Well, yes, we are confident in our place as a downstream of Red Hat. What we are most excited about is the enterprise Linux ecosystem, which includes Fedora, CentOS Stream, Alma. All of those are, we consider all of those things are upstream. And so when we find errors or issues or whatever, we submit those all the way upstream so that the fixes can happen higher up and benefit the entire ecosystem. There are several also people within the Rocky community that are members of the Fedora project so that we can contribute there more directly. And we try to sponsor the other parts of the ecosystem through their conferences, supporting their conferences similar to how we've supported this conference.
Okay, thanks.
One question for there.
How does the interaction between the different groups work? Like, for example, the documentation group, I guess you need to have an interaction with infrastructure and release group to know what you are documenting.
It's a pretty tight community. We all know each other. The documentation team is very much just always humming along in the background, trying to keep up with all the different requests for improvement or for new things. We're always looking for more people to come in and help document and articulate processes that are done with Rocky Linux. But we definitely help each other out. That's really what the community team does is help communication between all of the different teams. But we also meet regularly, all of the different teams together, so we can keep a heartbeat on each other. Thank you
Awesome.
all. This has been really
I have
wonderful.
a question from the Swapcard platform online. Pucho asked, why should I choose Rocky Linux over other distros of Linux? He says like CentOS, but CentOS.
Well, I think the nice thing now is that there are options within the enterprise Linux ecosystem. Different customers or clients or users all have different purposes. So it's really a personal choice or a company's choice. What is the best thing for your operation? They have different nuances. We personally like Rocky because it's stable. We know that it's been tested and it's still community available, and we have this commitment to keeping it community available.
Awesome. You mentioned that you don't track how many people are using Rocky Linux, but you certainly have metrics. Could you share some metrics about how many downloads are you having right now?
I don't know those numbers off the top of my head, but I could get you a graphic.
Roughly.
What I can say is the way we count that is by really checking the number of instances of EPEL that are downloaded, because the EPEL is the extra packages for enterprise Linux, and that's something that all of the distributions use. So that is, we count how many are being downloaded to use or by Rocky machines versus the other machines. And I really don't have a good solid answer for you, but come see me at my booth tomorrow, and I have a graphic I can show you that needs to go into this presentation, and it gives some more information.
Awesome. Do we have any questions? Okay, we have a question.
Well, let's suppose that I'm a person in a company that have already worked with Red Hat products, and I already choose Rocky Linux as a replacement of my infrastructure. Well, what does offer Rocky Linux to make that steps easier to go to an open source alternative from the Red Hat products?
So how do we make it easier?
How do you give, how do you make easy to a company that uses Red Hat software to
To migrate? How
to
do we make it
migrate
easier
to
migrate?
Rocky Linux? Yeah.
Well, I think the fact that it doesn't have to have a subscription makes it easier.
You don't have to pay for it.
You don't have to commit to it.
Okay.
But we try to make it reliable so that when you do commit to it, you don't have to worry about
Dropping
switching again.
replacement.
But I
Is
think
there-
we do also have on our website, I think we have ways to convert from different platforms to it.
So the adoption from Red Hat is completely transparent.
I believe so,
Okay.
yes.
A question for you?
Many questions today.
Yeah.
Hi again.
Hello again.
Suppose I'm a business, basically, that I have subscriptions to Red Hat. I know that having a subscription to Red Hat, I can use the support from Red Hat, from the team of every development in Red Hat, basically. When I switch to Rocky, okay, I have any type of support, or maybe chatting with the team for solving any trouble that I had with the implementation of Rocky, maybe?
You're asking if there's support?
Yeah.
We're definitely available within the community for, what would you call it, light support as you're making the switch. If you are looking for ongoing support,
Yeah.
you would probably be more likely to look at a third party. And at least one or two of our sponsors offer that kind of third party support.
Okay. What are your sponsors?
I
Sorry.
showed it in this
Many.
presentation.
They have many sponsors.
Yeah, we have many sponsors. Stop by the booth tomorrow in the morning.
I saw the sponsors, but some of them that you can mention.
Okay.
That you are thinking that they have an experience in implementation Rocky. Implementing Rocky. Sorry for my bad English.
No, that's okay. You're wanting to know testimonials?
Yeah.
I'm not sure your question.
Yeah. Basically, to have any experience before to take a testimony. basically.
Well, you can definitely come within the Rocky community and find people who have their company on it, on Rocky. We need to be working on getting testimonials on our website for people who use it. But as far as testimonials of people who use the third party, that's really outside of our scope. So I can give you a link to those companies tomorrow, and you can find out from them.
Okay, thanks.
Is that good?
Awesome.
Okay, thank you all so very much.
Big applause for Krista. Thank you. Thank you.